Discovering Kazakhstan is Jonathan Newell's unbiased view on culture and the mode of life of Kazakh people, on amazing landscapes and architectural masterpieces all over Kazakhstan.
Today on Discovering Kazakhstan, we've come to the capital city of Kazakhstan, to Astana. And today we're visiting the National Library of the country. Well, this has national status, so the scale of it is the whole of Kazakhstan, not just the city. And actually the scale goes beyond there, because this library has got an international reputation. It has an international network where it gets together with other libraries, with researchers from around the world, so they can do more research into the literary culture and the literary history of Kazakhstan. Well, it's a great place. It's not just a library, there's all sorts of things here. And as with many of the things that you find in this country, this place has been built for the people. And that's what I'd like to show you now. Well, the first thing that visitors are presented with when they arrive in the library is this exhibition hall. This is like a gallery, and although the theme at the moment is the 550th anniversary of the Kazakh Khanate, the theme varies depending on what's topical at the time. Well, themes here that have been looked at in the past are the 180th birthday of Shokhan Valikhanov, and also the 20th anniversary of the Constitution. So it's not just about books, it's about the general history of Kazakhstan and what's gone on there. Well, this book is looking at the Golden Horde, which of course was a very important part of the formation of the Kazakh Khanate in the Middle Ages. And a lot of the books that are on these shelves here reflect that era and show some of the history of that. So it's a very interesting area here for people who want to come and look at a specific theme. An important part of the National Library is the Book Museum. Well, it's interesting, you know, because many people think that there's a dearth of literature within Kazakhstan, and nothing could be further from the truth. The country has got a very rich literary history, and a part of that is represented within the museum behind me. Now, the library itself, of course, within its collection and its archives, has the whole of the Kazakhstan literary history represented on its shelves. This museum shows a small part of that, but it's a small part that's very much worth looking at. The ornamental entrance to the Book Museum reflects Kazakh traditions, with the Tree of Knowledge with swallows representing the gathering of information and considered to bring good fortune if they live near the house. Book leaves on the tree branches represent the value of world literature. This little corner of the museum is dedicated to the Middle Eastern cleric who came to Kazakhstan in the 12th century, Haja Ahmet Yasawi, who is immortalized in the Turkestan region of Kazakhstan, and this part of the exhibition shows some detail about him, about where he's interred and his history. Well, part of that are his own writings. Now, of course, his own writings aren't actually here, unfortunately, but all of this has been written down and kept for posterity. Yasawi's philosophies influenced Kazakhstan throughout the Middle Ages in terms of the way people lived and in terms of the culture itself. Now, those philosophies were handed down through the generations in books. And you can see here some of these books. There's one here from the 17th century, another one from the 18th century, and this one here from the 18th century, which has been handwritten, which is how it was done in those days. There were no printed materials in this part of the world at that time, and so these people would write down the philosophies of Yasawi in the books and then pass it on to the next person, the next generation, so that they could keep those traditions. Now, you notice something interesting about this book. The title of it is written on what seems to be the back cover. Well, the reason for that, of course, is that Yasawi's philosophies weren't written in Cyrillic script or even Latin script. They were written in Arabic. One of the things that always surprises me and delights me about Kazakhstan is the fact that people are usually very multilingual. But you know, the country is no stranger to linguistic diversity, which is probably why they're so recipient to languages. And in fact, just in terms of the alphabet alone, I'm not talking about different languages here, the Kazakh language has been represented throughout the ages in 16 different alphabets. So although that can be quite confusing for researchers, especially foreign researchers, it reflects that kind of diversity of culture and the influences that have come in from different nationalities, from different regions of the same country. Well, some of that is reflected within these works here. There's the Cyrillic script, which is what everybody's used to. That variation on the Cyrillic script that Baytursinov came up with, which is what is in use now. Then there's the Arabic script that was used for a long time before that. These are the main ones. And the Latin script, which has been used in the past, and now there's a movement towards using this kind of script again, to get away from the Cyrillic, but to go to a more Latin script like this. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of flux in the way that language develops, and it's something, of course, that's reflected in the literary history of the country, and of course is reflected in this library. Well, this library isn't just used for things like collecting books and doing research. It's a living example of how the community can get involved in various different aspects of the cultural life of both the capital city, Astana, and of course of Kazakhstan. And today, in this hall here, there's a seminar called The National Theatre, a Reflection of the People. And these young people have all come here today to meet various actors from the National Kazakh Theatre, which is in Astana. They're shortly going to come in and we'll take to the stage, and they'll have a short discussion about what they believe the role of the theatre should be in reflecting people's culture. Da. Attendees of today's events in the lecture theatre were treated to an appearance of three famous actors from the world of Kazakhstan theatre. Kuandik Kistikbayev, Bulat Ibrayev and Altinay Nogerbek regularly appear on the stage of the Kazakh National Theatre in various performances of historic plays. Far from being locked into the past, this library is very much looking into the future. Well, that future is, of course, in digital technology. A lot of libraries in the world are going through a process of digitization of their collections at the moment, but the library in Astana is going one big step further. There's a room here that's going through a whole process of digitization of all of its collection of books that are either about Kazakhstan or by Kazakhstan authors. This includes international books in English and other languages as well. So there's this huge collection of books from all over the world that are about Kazakhstan itself, and this is where they're digitizing that entire collection. Well, once it's digitized, the library have then put it onto its own portal. And I'm just having a look at this portal now, and you can see the book that's flicking over behind me there is one of the books from the collection. And it's included on this portal that so far has accumulated over 50 terabytes worth of data. It's a massive project, and it's going to get bigger and bigger all the time. It provides free access to anybody, wherever they are in the world, to the entire collection, historic collection of Kazakhstan literature, which I think is amazing. Not only that, but they've even got a mobile version of it as well, which you can get from the various different application stores, depending on the type of phone you've got. And this effectively puts the Kazakhstan National Library digital edition into your pocket, which I think is a fantastic step forward, and it shows great forward-thinking approach to how libraries are run. Despite the modern and futuristic faces of the National Library, it still serves the traditional functions of a library and research institute, with numerous departments with specific purposes or dedicated to certain themes. Abay Kunanbayev, a great philosopher and writer from Kazakhstan's history. In his time, Abay Kunimbayev was a very prolific writer, and it wasn't just his own material that he wrote, he was also a translator of other people's works, particularly the great writers from Russia. So he translated from Russian into Kazakh to bring this literature to his own people. Not only was Abay prolific himself, but other people were also prolific about him. So there are many, many books that were written in many different languages just about this particular philosopher. So therefore, in the museum here, they've created a hall especially dedicated just to Abay Kunimbayev. This part of the library houses many different books in all sorts of different languages. You can see here there's Italian, there's French, there are other languages here that I've seen as well, all sorts of different ones. And this is Sania, and she runs this part of the library. I'd like her to tell me just a little bit more about it. Hello, Sania.
Hello.
Can you tell me about this department, please?
Okay, you are in a center of foreign literature, and you can find in our libraries books in 72 languages, different languages. And here you can see also ASEAN countries, corner, the corner of Korean, Goethe Institute, and Turkish Cultural Center.
Right. So tell me about the people who come here into this section of the library. What kind of people come here?
The most readers is students. They prepare for international tests like TOEFL, IELTS, SAT,
Right.
etc.
Super, that's great. Well, thank you very much for showing me around, Sania.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, look at this. This is an incredible place, an Aladdin's cave of all kinds of different old books from different eras, from different countries in different languages. It's fantastic. I just love to sit here with an endless supply of cups of tea and just read my way through all of these books, because there are some amazing things in this collection, some kind of books that you've never heard of. And this is one of the great things about it. All of these books have been donated. This is like a reception area for the latest books that have been donated from various people to this library. And goodness me, what a collection. We've got an original Quran there in Arabic language. There's one that's over 700 years old. And it's been in one family for all that time, and it has their commentary written in between the different leaves of the book. It's incredible. There's a French book here that shows Chinese designs throughout the Indies and Persia and the Chinese, and including Japan. And that was published in 1734, and the condition of it is absolutely beautiful. It's very good indeed. And of course, lots of things in the Russian language here. I'd just like to spend a couple of weeks going through just these books alone. This big pile of books here is an architecture encyclopedia from the 19th century, so I can just imagine what's in there, all sorts of detailed information about the architecture of the time. What else have we got? Well, there's a book here that's written in the old Slavic language. It's absolutely not understandable. There's virtually nothing there that you can read unless you're a specialist in that kind of language. Also, here there are 9 volumes of the history of humankind, and again, this was written in the last century, and all sorts of different things are in here. This is also written in, well, this is Old Russian, it's not Slavic, and the first chapter I notice here is about Great Britain and Ireland after the death of George III. I wonder what their interpretation is of Britain and Ireland after the death of George III. I don't know. I don't have time, but I would love to sit here, flick through that and find out something about it. All sorts of books, all sorts of history, all here for the joy of the Kazakh people to come and read it and find out all about these things. The National Library of the Republic of Kazakhstan here in the city of Astana is just one example of how the country is preserving its heritage and making sure that it's maintained for future generations, so that everybody that lives here in the future can enjoy these wonderful pieces of literature, these wonderful pieces of art, etc. Well, there's a lot more to see both here in Astana and throughout the rest of the country, and I hope you'll join me again and discover it with me in discovering Kazakhstan. Goodbye.